Okay, this should be a fairly quick kiln opening. This was a cone 04. On the top I have some refires pieces. I held this at cone 04 for about 15 minutes to try to do like a hot cone 04, maybe even an 03. So I have a little bit of terracotta in here, but also most of it is clay that I make, which is sort of like a fritware. So it's like I guess it's kind of typically called low fire stoneware, which doesn't make any sense really, but it's basically just clay with frit in it so that it's tighter. So that's like a white clay. The refires, you might remember from the previous video, which was an 04 firing a few videos back. I had some like really rough spots on here because of the the clay was not very absorbent. So I'm still trying to figure out how to do this with terracotta. Um, what I ended up doing was just putting some of the Amico low fire clear, which is I think is LG10, I think is what it is, because it's thick enough. I still have some roughness here, and I don't know how I feel about the slip problem because on this one, a little bit of the slip popped off. Let's see if you can see that. So there's like a shard of, ceramic right down there with some glaze on it. So this slip really isn't good. It's not really compatible with this clay. This is EM106 by Laguna. And I used the slip recipe that I made. It's one of like 3 or 4 that I'm testing. So probably I'll just not be using that slip. I think the thing that I discovered is that slip with frit in it is what you really want to use. You don't want to use any type of slip that does not have frit in it for low fire anyway, because it seems like it just does not adhere to the clay during the firing. Because I had a lot of it chip off. It's usually like on the edge, so this doesn't go up to the edge, but there's a little bit of like chipping right here. So basically all these I won't be able to use them or sell them. So I mean, maybe I'll try using them for myself. I noticed that some of the glaze on the inside, you won't be able to see it. It's a little bit pitted with the refire. I'm not sure why. So let me just put those there. This is the clay that I make, which is it's like 10% frit, and I think it's frit 3124 because I've changed it a couple times. So it does have like a stoneware look because it's an off-white. And this is, I think it's called Lotus Blossom. It's like either a jungle gem or one of the other ones that they have. That comes out really good. It's actually pretty good at cone 5 as well. The inside is a Mako Fundamental turquoise to match it. This is like a little planter that hangs up. So it's interesting. That's actually pretty good. And I have there's going to be a whole bunch of these in here. These are Colors for Earth. I have both the color concentrate and the color stroke, so there's a lot of them, and they're all on the clay that I make. So let's go down to the next level. Okay, so the next level has a lot of stuff, and I can see some problems already. I made some salt jars, and this has Colors for Earth Rose Madder, and it kind of cooked out, so it's almost like not even there. So that's unfortunate because I've done tests of it and it was fine at this temperature, but maybe because I held it so long. And it's also speckled. So I must have put, Colors for Earth has what's called a speck base where you can add to the color strokes. So that's what I did. So that's kind of interesting, but there's carving in this because I was expecting much more of a contrast. So that didn't work out. That's what the inside looks like. But the glaze looks pretty good. There's a little bit of pitting at the bottom though. Just a very small amount of pitting at the bottom. The lid, same thing. It's not gonna work, but color-wise, that's the main problem. Otherwise, it might have been okay. I think the glaze is pretty good. So the other thing I wanted to say about this is what I did with this clay, most of the pieces in here, I bisque fired them to cone 08. so that when I dipped it in the glaze, because I really like a good thick coat of glaze, and I won't be able to get this off. I'm not going to take that off because you can easily cut your hand. There's a very good coat of glaze on here, maybe even a little thicker than it should be, and that's why it's pitting up a little bit. Um, I didn't know if this clay would warp, so as it fired on the stilts, if it would warp. It probably doesn't really need to be stilted, but I kind of want to do that just in case. I'm not really doing much with functional wear yet with this clay. There's going to be a couple of mugs in here that are for me because I want to test in the microwave and stuff. So this is another one that came right off the still. So that the color for that held up really well. I don't know where the lid is. It must be on the next level. I'll just take a few of them out. So I did here, overdid it. I don't remember the colors. It might be like Jade or Celadon, but that's a Colors for Earth color stroke on the outside, and then the inside is just the clay color. I used the Colors for Earth concentrate black to get the speckling, just with like a brush. It's a little bit too much, and there's some problems with the glaze on the inside. I think it was just a little too thick, so there's like a little bit of cratering with the glaze, so I'll probably have to end up refiring maybe everything that's in here. I don't know. I'm not even sure if that's what I should do. This that came off, that's the lotus blossom again, and I think this would be, this had a little bit of cracking on it. This is really like an experimental firing, honestly. That's the lid for that. I'm not a big fan of all these, what we're calling crystal glazes, but I think this one's interesting because it's kind of an interesting look. And this is a salt jar that would get a spoon right here. So, and then the inside is just turquoise by Mako. It's a fundamental. So let me just put a few of these aside. So I also did some of the other glazes. This is an elemental by Mako. I believe this is Spanish moss. It looks really horrible. And that's on the white. It's a little bit, it's better on the red. So this is what it looks like on red. And this red is really nice. It's the first time I'm using it. It is by New Mexico clay called APS Red. I'm hoping to switch to this because even ordering it from New Mexico, it's about the same price as what I would pay from my local supplier. So the reason I like that is because it'll just come in the mail, and it's hard to get from my local supplier when I order, from them. Just to put in an order, I can't, even to do it through the mail from them is more expensive than from New Mexico. So I don't know why, but my local supplier is like 2 hours away from me. This is the lotus blossom again on the clay that I make, which I'm just going to call it low fire stoneware. And this is a smudge bowl. Let's see, I did just some samples of Spanish moss, which is that really ugly color. Will not be doing that. And this one is called Blue Grotto. It's kind of like a metallic with some blue highlights to it. And this is probably Spanish moss, and that looks terrible. I think this is called burnished steel. I did a test of that in the previous firing, but it didn't come out good on this clay. And I have some more little dishes with the lotus blossom. That's pretty nice, actually. All of these little things right here are just basically bare clay. This has some, I believe it's Jade by Colors for Earth. And they're just going to be things to put essential oil on. So that's basically what that is. So I'm going to take that out. We'll go to the next level. Okay, so I made some soap dispensers, which hopefully the glaze is okay on. Definitely have some pitting on the bottom of it. I'm getting like bubbles. I think it may be just was too thick of a coating. Maybe doing more like cone '06 for the bisque would be better than '08. Footwear is tricky because the higher you go, just like with anything, it will get so vitrified that it won't take any glaze. So at '04, it barely took any glaze. So that's why I thought I would try '08. And this is a Sgraffito with it's colors for earth. It's basically underglaze. It is a fritted underglaze though, so if you do put it on the bottom, you do have to stilt it. And I glazed the bottom, but this was all done in the greenware, and that's why it's Sgraffito. But let me just see what we have. So that does fit that. I don't know about the pitting. Let's see if this comes off. It did not. I have another one. Now these colors I mixed. So I think I mixed like jade with a little bit of blue to get the hummingbird, and it does fit. And that looks a little bit better. It has a little bit of pitting on the bottom. It's hard to see. You probably won't be able to see it. It's just a little bit of a pitting. It might be okay. I don't know. Hummingbird pattern though. There's the hummingbird on both sides. So I'm pretty happy with that, and it does look like stoneware. It kind of looks like B-Mix. And the reason for doing this is because a lot of these underglaze colors, even the Amico ones, will burn out. I mean, you saw that the rose-colored one burned out anyway. So this is one of the... Actually, I use all colors for earth on these because I really wanted to see all the colors that I have together. So this one I did a background, and I used the spec base and then carved into it. But this clay doesn't really hold up that well being carved that much. So it kind of was like coming up around it. But I don't really mind that look. It's kind of fine. I mean, I wouldn't do it on anything that would have food on it. So that's those. And let's just see. I do feel a little bit of roughness on here though. So it might have a little bit of a glaze issue. But the corks fit. So, and it shrinks about 9.5% because I already tested that. And I don't know where the lid for this is, but that was the rose colored one was supposed to look like this too. So that looks pretty good. The inside is just the bare clay. And let's see. So this one is like I wanted like a sage speckled color. So I mixed one of the greens with a gray to get more of a sage color. And it came out pretty good. It has some pitting on the bottom. Won't really matter, I guess. As long as it's smooth enough and that gets a spoon to it. So pretty happy with that. And you can hear that it does sound like stoneware. Because once you have frit in a clay body, it is much more solid. And then I have, let me see if I can, there we go. So this is the new clay that I'm using, which I have a sample here. This has a white, it's called Siebert White, which you can find on Glazing. I really like it. It's a Maiolica glaze. I think it looks really good with this clay. This is a really nice clay. It has a really nice color to it. I mean, that's like when I do red stoneware, that's the color that I hope it's going to be, but it usually turns brown instead. So what this is an amber. It's the same clear that I'm using. The clear that I'm using is called Pete Pinnell Clear. And it's like a cone 04 to a cone, I want to say 2. I can't see the bucket from here. But when you add a little bit of oxides to it, basically, is you have like a celadon. But this is like an amber, which would be black iron oxide, I think at 2%. So this is actually white slip, and this is Pete Pinnell Forgiving Slip, which was applied to bisque. And the reason that I made this at all, I didn't have a lot of time, but I wanted something flat that would sit here because I wanted to see if this would warp. Firing it low for the bisque and then going up to 04, it did not warp. So not, if it did, it didn't do it much. And I did it thin on purpose just to see if it would do it. So I'm trying to do this where I'm not firing it for the bisque higher than the glaze. I don't like that method. It's a very difficult thing to do. I don't like when the clay body doesn't take the glaze in. So I'm still trying to find the sweet spot for the bisque. Because you can bisque fire fritware low because it's doesn't have the iron in it. So it's not going to have any like weird glaze problems typically. But I think cone 06 is going to be better than 08 for this. At least what I'm seeing now. But the Seabird white is really nice. So that's a glossy white that you can paint on underglazes on top of, which the Colors for Earth, you can do that. Some of the Amico glazes, underglazes can be done that way. So that will be probably the next experiment. So let's go down to the next level. So all of those color chips are all Colors for Earth. And I'm just testing the colors and also the glaze compatibility with the colors. I can see that there's a few that has a lot of pitting, so it might have just been too thick. I don't know what these colors are. I'm going to do an entire video talking about that, and I also have some that were done at Cone 5. So I'll do a whole video talking about how the colors look and how they held up. This is another smudge bowl. This one has some carving on the outside. And I think I mostly use bright purple by Colors for Earth. So, and it is pretty bright. I kind of do like a darker color, but that's pretty good. And there's another one. I don't know which color this was, and it's kind of, it matted it out, which is unfortunate. But it's actually okay. I'm not really probably going to use this clay for anything functional, I don't think. That's not my plan right now. Otherwise, I may have to figure out a different clear. It looks good, but it is matted and it has some glaze defects to it. So I'll have to figure out what I can do with that. Here's the lid to this. And that has a really good fit to it. That's pretty good. That came out good. So this has the speck base in it. So you add the speckle base to whatever color stroke you're using to get that effect. And it's pretty nice. I mean, this is kind of bright and kind of beachy looking, I guess. And then the lid for the other one is right here. So that one's good. I think it has too much speckling. It doesn't fit as good as I would have liked. The speckling is like way too much. So I'll probably have to figure out how to do that without, because this was done with the Colors for Earth concentrate black with just a brush. There's a guy, Michael Harbridge, he has a channel and he does that. And I just tried it a couple times. I did it in the other firing too. I just have a hard time getting it to where it's not so much on there. But maybe just using the speckled base is better. And that's all that's on here is the speckled base. So it gives you the kind of a tan sort of almond color on its own. Kind of use the speckled base a lot. And that's on the inside of this. And that's just the bare clay with the clear glaze on it. It's like a little ring dish. And this is a carved ring dish. Did get a little bit more matted because this is a darker purple. I don't know which purple it is. I probably could figure it out if I looked at the color samples. It might have actually been the Amico one. I'm not sure. But it matted it out a little bit. Another little ring dish. And that seems less vitrified to me. I'll have to check into that. And this is the lid for this. The lid for that one. It doesn't fit as good either. So I will clear all those out and we'll look at the bottom. I just wanted to point out this piece has a big crack through it. I think I went too thin with it, so it's actually cracked, and oh well for that. I did a few mugs because I'm going to test these. Not happy with the color. I mixed the color to get kind of a sage. It's that same sage color. The glaze is too thick, I can tell. So maybe if I just bisque fire a little higher. But I'm going to test these out to see what this clay is capable of, if it can be microwaved and all that kind of stuff. And I might never use it for mugs. And this got all too thick there, but I wasn't planning on selling these. You can see it's like an orange peel texture. And the color is really bad. I think this is Cala Green, I want to say. So the color is not good. So this probably got too hot. Because I did hold it for quite a while. But all the carving that's in it, not good. It was a lot darker before the firing. Let's see. This is going to be just a candle holder for me with some Christmas trees on it. A little bit of pitting and pinholing. So I think I pretty much know, what I'm going to do now. And I put in this was like a small, I don't even know how much clay this was, probably like 8 ounces or something. I put some ilmenite into, like on the wedging table, and just wedged ilmenite into it. It's very, very, very small specks, but it's there. It's kind of nice, actually. Wouldn't be good for carving. I don't know if that would get in the way. But they're kind of smaller than what I was expecting. And you can even put it in the glaze, too. But it gives the clay an interesting look. I actually really like the way that came out. It has a warm look to it. So as long as I can figure out the glaze situation. Let me see, there's another little ring dish. Kind of it has the speckling on the inside because it's the speck base. I'll have to make sure that's not cracked. And then, let's see, these are little planters, little funny face planters. See if this will come off. There we go. So I think I probably sell them together like that. So they both have holes in the bottom. Kind of wish I did a little, a little tray to put them in. That would have been better, but it is what it is. And this clay actually was what I would call low fire porcelain. That's why it's so much whiter. And it's fine for a little planter, but it's not vitrified enough for much of anything else. Let's see, so it's another smudge bowl. Has one kind of big glaze defect right here. If you can see it, it bubbled a bit. So I think it just got too hot. I think if I refire these, it'll work. And, I had to stilt them because it's glazed all the way around, which probably was overkill. I don't think I needed to do that. But I think this is Celadon by Colors for Earth. So it's very turquoise, actually. Unless there's like an ocean color, too. I'll have to match it up to the samples that I did. Did a lot of carving. Took a big risk on that because you never know. I have to do an entire kiln load of low fire in order to test. That's the only way I can do it. So, it's just a choice that you have to make, I guess. I don't know. I could probably try firing this to, I don't know, 05 or something, just to get the clear glaze to, because there's big pits in the clear glaze. I don't know if you can see it there. Kind of sharp. It wouldn't matter for something like this, but did some ginkgo leaf pattern. I think the color is too light for me. I was hoping it would be darker than that. And this is a little salt jar. A little bit weird. It's a little ugly. That's just the stilt. Kind of decided not to stilt all the other lids that were there because it doesn't really make sense that this has to have glaze on it. I don't think it does. So let's see. A couple of weird dishes. These were left over from the last firing. and I just flicked the black on there to get the speckling. And this was going to be Mishima, but I put the wrong wax on here and it actually flaked up. So it's a little bit more rustic than what I would have done. And I probably would have done a much better design because I kind of gave up on it. Once the wax started coming up, that was it. So this would be bright purple on the low fire stoneware. See, it's got a good ring to it. I like the clay though. I mean, it's sort of like B mix or something, has that same off-white look. And this is an incense holder, which has been, Sgraffito carved. So, and then it has the spec base, and I think it's 2 different colors. Probably Celadon with ocean green, something like that. And that is the whole thing. I don't have any cones for 04 yet. Still haven't been able to get them because I haven't put in an order with any clay companies. But that's all for this. Any questions, let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching.